Welcome to African Mysteries, where ancient whispers, dark secrets, and untold legends come to life. These stories are based on folklore, real experiences, and cultural beliefs. Viewer discretion is advised. Let the mystery begin. The Sleepless Pact. In the quiet, sun-bleached village of Manjeni Hills, folks whispered in hushed tones about the strange and sudden rise of a man named Mvelo Dlamini. Once a hopeful graduate, Mvelo had wandered the dusty paths of poverty like the rest of his peers, until one day, he vanished. For 7 long days, the village was chilled with fear. His frail grandmother, Gogo Mavis, paced the compound barefoot, her voice hoarse from calling his name. Mvelo, the responsible one, who avoided stressing her because of her blood pressure, had simply disappeared. People feared the worst, maybe he'd ended it all in secret, unable to face the weight of his joblessness. But then, like a resurrected ghost, he reappeared. Gaunt, wide-eyed, and looking like he'd spent a week fighting demons in the underworld, Mvelo returned. He didn't speak. Not to Gogo Mavis. Not to anyone. He sat silently, jittery and confused, his clothes hanging off him like wet rags. The villagers assumed madness had claimed him. Then, without warning, the bricks arrived. Not the small-time stuff, truckloads. Before long, masons were raising a 2-story mansion on the same plot where his grandmother's mud hut once stood. A brand new G-Wagon rolled into the yard a few weeks later. Soon, boreholes were being drilled, satellite dishes bloomed on the roof like metallic flowers, and the house stood behind gates so tall they nearly touched the clouds. Whispers spread like wildfire. No one knew where he worked, what he did, or even if he still was entirely human. People claimed he laughed at questions about his wealth, and those who persisted were silenced with thick stacks of cash. Hunger had a way of quieting curiosity. Then there was Thabiso, Mvelo's old friend and our unfortunate narrator in this tragic comedy of terrors. Thabiso had last seen Mvelo about 1.5 years ago, before wealth swallowed him whole. One chilly evening, Gogo Mavis came knocking on Thabiso's door, her voice trembling with worry. "He's not well," she said. "He doesn't talk. He doesn't sleep. You are his only real friend, go see him." Thabiso didn't sleep that night. Morning couldn't come fast enough. When he arrived at Mvelo's fortress, it took an hour before his friend emerged. What stood before him was barely a man. Sunken eyes. Grayish skin. A body swaying like it hadn't truly rested in months. They sat in silence for nearly 20 minutes. And then, Mvelo spoke. He passed Thabiso a plastic bag stuffed with bread and bundles of crisp cash. "This is for you and your family," he said. "Thank you for checking on me." Thabiso became a regular visitor after that. It felt like old times, except Mvelo looked more corpse than human, decaying slowly under the weight of wealth. Eventually, Thabiso asked the question everyone in Manjeni Hills had only dared whisper. "How are you making your money?" Mvelo chuckled dryly and replied, "Money is hard labor. I'd rather look like a corpse and give my grandmother a comfortable life than be a healthy beggar in her home." That hit Thabiso like a punch to the throat. At 38, he still relied on his mother. The guilt was suffocating. He begged Mvelo to show him the secret. Mvelo hesitated, then agreed, but with one rule: no one must know. The next day, they set off to a sacred mountain, where an abandoned hut perched on a ridge like it was hiding from God himself. "This is where your journey begins," Mvelo said. "Help will come. But I cannot stay." And then he left. Night fell. Then came them, an ancient woman with skin like bark and a towering man who looked carved from shadows. They asked, "Are you sure you want this?" Thabiso trembled. "No," he said honestly. "Big mistake. You shouldn't have come if you weren't sure," the woman rasped. "To live, you must live when I live." Thabiso's survival instinct screamed, "Yes. I'm ready," faster than his mouth could form the words. What followed was a horror of nakedness, hallucinations, and nightly visits from things he couldn't describe. He was told he had married a spirit snake, visible only to him. He was now its husband. It must be taken home. Shown his room. Federal guarded. 7 days later, Thabiso returned mute and filthy. Villagers declared him missing. He couldn't talk to anyone, couldn't bathe, could only eat raw meat. And every night the invisible snake wife lay curled on his bed. He stood guard beside it, always standing, never sitting, never sleeping. The snake warned, sleep, and the one you love most will die. His mother's face flashed in his mind. Thabiso stood for 7 nights. Then another 7. Then months. His eyes puffed into purple moons. His bones ached. His body wilted like old cabbage. But the money flowed. His home transformed. His life on the outside glittered. But he was a prisoner of the night. Meanwhile, Mvelo was free. Freed by recruitment. That's the trick. Voluntary initiation meant the burden shifted. Mvelo now lived in a different town, ignoring Thabiso's calls like missed bills. He had visited just once since. Don't tell anyone, he warned, or the snake will stop giving. Now, 7 months deep into spiritual insomnia, Thabiso walks among men by day and guards an invisible serpent by night. Wealth surrounds him. But so does despair. And now he waits for a knock on the door. For the next volunteer. For more mysteries from the Motherland, hit that like button, subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a tale. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and beware, some legends are more than just stories.